Thanks for staying with us for our half-hour special. I'm Terry Furman. The holiday season can be a time to reflect on the year gone by. At everythinglubbock.com, when we remember 2019, there are a few stories that stand out. Not only do these stories have an impact on you, our viewers and friends, but they also left an impression on us, the journalists who brought them to you. Some are headline-grabbing that led our newscasts, others quieter ones that we'll never forget. These are the stories we want to share with you now. Jason Davis has a look back at the top stories of 2019. The year started off with a mother outraged after seeing video of how her daughter was being treated at a local daycare in January. What caused the anger and what did the video show? We take a look back.
Starting off the year was a disturbing case involving a video that came out of a local daycare. The video spread across social media quickly, sparking outrage from the community and drawing the attention of the Lubbock Police Department. The video in question depicted an adult pulling a child's hair while another adult laughed and recorded it with their phone. The worker could be heard telling the little girl to eat her food while holding her head up using the girl's ponytail. In addition to laughing, the worker recording the video can be heard insulting another young girl as well. My Little Playhouse Learning Center in the 3600 block of 50th Street was the location of the viral video. Parents of the 3-year-old, Amira Wilson, said they found out weeks after the incident when the video was first posted publicly.
My 4-year-old is the one that witnessed and said that she did see her grab her by her hair, and she said that it had been more than one time.
The parents said they were never contacted by the daycare, even though all 4 of their kids had been attending the daycare for about 5 months. According to the mother, another one of her children said they had seen this type of behavior before. Parents staged a protest saying they did not trust the hiring process of the daycare. According to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, the daycare center has had 19 violations since 2016, ranging from safety violations to lack of employee training. The daycare said the employees involved in the incident were fired immediately. They also said they notified all the proper authorities so an investigation could take place. Amira is healthy, according to the family, but they're not satisfied with how the daycare handled the situation. The family just wants to make sure this never happens to another child.
The spring was very exciting for Red Raider fans as Texas Tech basketball rose to unprecedented new heights. We look at the road Chris Beard and the men's basketball team had on the road to the Final Four.
3 years ago, Texas Tech fans were devastated by the abrupt departure of men's basketball head coach Tubby Smith. This move by Smith came right after he took the team to their first NCAA tournament in 9 years. Following his departure, it was the first time many at Texas Tech heard the name Chris Beard. Beard is a scrappy coach who worked his way up through the ranks. He had a history as an assistant with the program and came to Texas Tech speaking of high expectations and visions of greatness. Red Raider fans only needed to wait until his 3rd year as head coach to see that vision come to fruition. Texas Tech made it to the tournament again in 2019, only this time as a 3 seed with a strong record and a Big 12 championship under its belt. Led by hometown kid Jarrett Culver, the Red Raiders took down North Kentucky and Buffalo in the first 2 rounds. Heavyweights Michigan and Gonzaga loomed in the next section of the bracket, but the Red Raiders once again proved to everyone they were just as good as the best in the country.
From Lubbock, Texas, the Red Raiders of Texas Tech are going to the Final Four for the first time in program history.
After defeating Gonzaga, the team was moved to their first Final Four in program history. Fans and alumni around the country were ecstatic. Now in Minneapolis, Texas Tech wasn't done. Taking down one of the best teams in the country, Michigan State, they once again proved they belong on the court with anyone. This was the scene on Broadway after the historic victory. Now, with their eyes set on the national championship, the Red Raiders looked to the Virginia Cavaliers. Valiantly, the Red Raiders traded blow after blow with the number 1 seed until eventually falling in overtime. They were national runners-up, a tough end to a historic season. With plenty of starters gone, Beard is showing he's ready to get going once again. After a brief 3-game skid, the new Red Raiders squad quickly showed they were ready for another journey into March. They took down the then-ranked number 1 Louisville Cardinals. If we were to guess, the Red Raiders aren't quite done making news.
Still gives me cold chills to watch all of that happen. You know, severe weather season in the South Plains is always interesting, but this June we had one incredibly noteworthy event happen, one that you'll most likely only see right here on the South Plains.
If you made a list of things that West Texas is known for, wind and dirt would probably be on it somewhere. Well, if Lubbock residents had forgotten that fact for some reason, they were reminded of it in early June of 2019. On June 5th, Lubbock was hit with an impressive wall of dirt around 6 p.m. This was the first major haboob to hit the hub city since 2011. The massive line of dirt stretched all the way from south of Tahoka to north of Plainview. Lubbock residents had to take shelter to avoid the sudden blast of dirt and wind. Drone footage showed the massive cloud rolling in over the metro area in the early evening. According to the National Weather Service, reported wind gusts reached as high as 61 miles per hour south of Wolforth as the windstorm slammed into Lubbock. While some took shelter, others around the Lubbock area took to their phones to capture Mother Nature's impressive show. Tons of people shared videos or pictures of the storm on social media as the wall of dirt moved across the area. The NWS reported several areas of zero visibility as the cloud passed through West Texas. This probably won't be the last time a haboob of this magnitude hits Lubbock, but folks around here will not soon forget the wall of dirt from June of 2019.
And August was an incredibly somber month for news, both locally and around the state. Mass shootings in Odessa and El Paso rocked the region. We examined Lubbock's connection to these shootings.
In early August, tragedy in the form of a mass shooting once again struck the state of Texas, only this time in El Paso. The location, a Walmart full of people doing back-to-school shopping and running errands on a normal Saturday. Around 1 p.m., El Paso Mayor DeMargo confirmed that an active shooter had killed multiple people. In the span of minutes, 20 people were dead and 26 were injured. The number of dead would climb to 22 after 2 more succumbed to their wounds in the following days. The carnage was caused by a 21-year-old man by the name of Patrick Crucius. He carried a legally purchased rifle and used it to deadly effect. He was from Allen, Texas. Texas wasn't quite done seeing tragedy in the month of August. Less than 30 days after El Paso, another mass shooting incident occurred in Odessa. It all started on August 31st when a DPS trooper made a traffic stop around 3:15 in the afternoon for a car who failed to signal a left turn. Having just been fired from his job, the driver, 36-year-old Seth Ator, shot the trooper and drove away. Hours of confusion followed. Ator shot a mail carrier and stole the carrier's mail truck. For a time, police were not sure if it was 1 or 2 suspects at large. Next, Ator began firing at random as he drove around the Odessa and Midland area. He eventually ended up at the Odessa movie theater. This is where he was shot and killed by police officers. Including the shooter, the death toll stood at 8. Another 22 were injured, including 3 law enforcement officers and a 17-month-old baby who was transported to a Lubbock hospital. In early September, another Lubbock connection surfaced in the form of an ATF raid on a North Lubbock home. The Wall Street Journal initially reported that the person who sold Ator the rifle used in the Odessa shooting was from Lubbock. Federal agents were investigating the potential of the rifle either being illegally manufactured or illegally sold by that person. Ator failed his federal background check in 2014 due to a mental health issue, and this private sale is how he obtained the rifle. Along with the El Paso shooting, Odessa concluded a violent August in Texas that left 29 people dead and dozens more injured. And it left all Texans asking why.
We continue to ask that question. Also in August, we found a Lubbock connection to the man named the most prolific serial killer of all time. The name Samuel Little is recognized internationally, but he has ties to a death of one woman on the South Plains.
In August, EverythingLubbock.com broke the story that Lubbock police were planning to indict Samuel Little for the 1993 murder of a Lubbock woman. Little has been called the most prolific serial killer in American history by the FBI. It's been proven that Little killed at least 61 people, but he's confessed to 93 murders overall, and the FBI say they think he's telling the truth. Bobby Fields was found dead in an open field over 2 decades ago, but the case quickly went cold with no real leads to speak of. Then, in 2018, the case was reopened and detectives finally figured out just who killed Bobby Fields. Investigators had already looked at Lubbock's cold cases earlier to see if any of them matched the detailed descriptions of Little's many murders, but came up empty. However, when detectives learned that Little was released from a Texas jail weeks earlier than they had originally thought, they dug further and eventually found the truth. They arranged an interview with the serial killer where he gave specific details of her murder that convinced detectives that he was their killer. A grand jury then indicted Samuel Little for the 1993 murder. Little had drawn a sketch of a woman he thought he'd murdered in Wichita Falls in the late 1970s that looked eerily similar to Fields. Investigators in that area tried to find a murder that matched the sketch, but came up with nothing. Detectives now believe the woman he sketched was indeed Bobby Fields.
Also in August, a case that captivated the South Plains. A 79-year-old man tragically murdered. We reflect on the complicated crime and the people responsible.
Early in August, a silver alert was issued for 79-year-old Celestino Rodriguez. The Slayton man had been missing since 10 a.m. on August 3rd. He was last seen driving a white 2014 Chrysler 200. Unfortunately, investigators would soon learn that Rodriguez had been beaten, robbed, and left for dead in a field. Over the course of a couple of weeks, over a half dozen people would be found to have a connection to Rodriguez's murder case. According to police documents, 35-year-old Heather Mae Casillas and 33-year-old Brett Anthony Garza planned to rob Rodriguez of his government check and his car. The document showed that Garza recruited a man by the name of David Wayne Hampton, 53, to help execute this plan. The investigation revealed that Casillas lured Rodriguez to a predetermined location. That's where Garza and Hampton were lying in wait. When Rodriguez arrived, the two men attacked him while Casillas watched. Before long, the trio realized the 79-year-old man was unresponsive. After moving his body to a cotton field in western Lubbock County, they took his wallet, debit card, and car. They used his debit card within 4 hours of his murder. After questioning by police, Casillas grew nervous and wanted to move Rodriguez's body, so she enlisted the help of James Andrew Anderson, 27. He, in turn, contacted a friend, 39-year-old Freddie Joe Salinas. They loaded Rodriguez's body into a car and drove to a secluded area in Hale County. This is where they left him. After the silver alert came out, the two people who had the car, 39-year-old Toby Daughtry and 33-year-old Amanda Grace Blackburn, dumped it. Hampton had given them the car in Lubbock. About 10 days later, Rodriguez's body was found and positively identified. After the dust settled, Toby Daughtry and Amanda Blackburn were charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. James Anderson and Freddie Salinas were charged with tampering with evidence, a corpse, and Heather Casillas, Brett Garza, and David Hampton were charged with Rodriguez's murder.
Next on our EverythingLubbock.com half-hour special, a former Texas Tech athlete murdered in the late summer, plus a popular DJ's fall from grace.